Dharni, you can start.
Gathered here this evening. I take immense pleasure in welcoming every one of you to this online summer course on Python for beginners. I would like to begin this evening's event with a quote from our Honorable former President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam sir. The purpose of education is to make good human beings with the skills and expertise. Enlightened human beings can be created by teachers. I welcome our resource persons, Mr. Jai Kishore and Mr. Akshay, and all gathered here. On behalf of our respected college chairman, Sri D. Duraisamy, Vice Chairman Sri D. Parandaman, Secretary Sri D. Dasarathan, Joint Secretary Sri S. Gopinath, Correspondent Sri S. Amarnath, Director Sri D. Sabarinath, our beloved Principal Dr. S. Ramachandran, Head of all UG and PG departments, professors, and faculty members, and students of our institution. Before we begin this evening, let me share a brief introduction of our institute. Dharma Naidu Educational and Charitable Trust established SA Engineering College in the year of 1998 to 1999. We are an NAC A grade for all departments or NAB accredited and ISO 9001 is to 2015 certified institution located at Thiruvarkadu. We are working autonomous from 2019 for a span of 10 years. We have 24 years of excellence in teaching of 8 UG programs, which will be in BER, Civil Engineering, Electronic and Communication Engineering, Computer Science and Engineering, Electrical and Electronic Engineering, Mechanical Engineering. And in BTech, we have Information Technology, Artificial Intelligence and Data Science, Computer Science, and Business System. And our PG programs are we have in ME, SCAT and CAM, Computer Science Engineering, Communication System, Embedded System Technology, and in MBA Master of Business Administration, MCA Master of Computer Science Application. We also support various doctorate programs in communication engineering, electronic communication engineering, electrical and electronic engineering, mathematics and mechanical engineering. SA Engineering College stands out in the crowd for its Anna University recognized research centers with 27 funded projects where students get chance to work on these projects. We provide highly comprehensive placement of about minimum 90% of placement even during this pandemic in the year of 2020 to 2021. Our top recruitments include CTS, TCS, Zogo, Infosys, Capgemini, Microsoft, Amazon, Rapid Data, L&T. We have introduced latest courses on artificial intelligence and data science, computer science, and business system. We have state-of-art infrastructure, including IoT lab, product designing lab, and development lab to conduct research products. SA Engineering College maintains high standard of education by providing a wide array of world-class academic facility, employing highly qualified and experienced faculty members, and creating an ambience of conductive quality education. Thank you. Sir,
Yeah, hello. This is Jai Kishore here, and myself Jai Kishore, and it's going to be Akshay who's going to teach about Python for beginners. So this topic is going to be about a startup for those who don't know Python, and a refreshment for refresh for who already know Python. So let's start with it. So Python is high level language. It is interpreted a general purpose programming language. So can anyone say what high level is? So if you don't know what high level is, it's actually similar to a natural language, English like language. So high language allow programmers to write instructions in a language uh, which is easier to understand than low level language like C and all. So what interpreted means is it's a language in which the implementations executed instruction directly without earlier compiling a program. Like you don't need to compile it just to run the program. So it's already compiled and it's actually it's slower than a compiled program actually. So it emphasizes code readability with the use of significant indentation. Indentation is very important in Python actually. If there's no indentation, there are lots of errors. Programmers use indentation to understand the structure of their programs to human ears, especially when it comes to indentation. It is better way to represent. So if it's a better way, you can actually see the loops clearly when it's indented. So Python indentation is very important in Python. And Python is a multi-paradigm programming language. It's object-oriented programming and structured programming are fully supported. Uh, Coming to the history of Python, next slide. So Python is developed in the late 80s and early 90s. It is developed by Guido van Rossum in the Netherlands. Python is actually named as tribute to Monty Python, a British comedy group. We'll be showing it in the next slide. It has been open source from the beginning. It's been a open source. Open source is like actually it's free to everyone. It's not you don't need to buy the software to code in it. That's what open source is. But some are not open source. Like you need to buy softwares to code. But Python has been open source from the beginning. So let's see the next slide. So to the left is Guido van Rossum and the Monty Python. They named Python after the Monty Pythons. So coming to IDLE, IDLE is nothing but an integrated development learning environment. It's actually used to code your programs in the environment, so get a better experience than like Python IDLE. It's an integrated development environment which has been bundled with default implementations of the language. It is simple than ID, like for beginners, especially in educational environment. It is cross-platform and avoid feature clutter. Like it's better when you use an integrated development learning environment. You won't face any problems as much like Turbo C++ and all. It's clean and like we'll see how it is used in the hands-on session. So why do we need to use Python and not other programs? We'll see next slide. So Python is mainly used for simplicity. Since it's like a natural English-like language, it's easy to learn for many of them. Where if you go to any of the new code learners, they'll say Python is easier. So we cannot stress this point enough. But Python is not only easy to learn, but also easy to use and implement. It's similar to English, like I said before. You can master the integrity of Python coding in a few days. It's like very easy. The loops and all are very easy when compared to other programs. It's almost like English. So it's an open source language, like already we said. Uh, Open source meaning you don't need to pay charges. So it is portable. The written Python code can work on any OS, like Windows or Apple, whatever. You can use Python on it. So coming to the applications of Python, uh, can anyone say where it is used? Like whether you've seen people use Python somewhere, or the people who already learned Python in schools. Okay, let me see a few applications of Python. So coming to the first, it's vastly used in artificial intelligence and machine learning, in scientific and numeric applications, software development, image processing, and GUI applications, web development, audio and visual applications like Netflix, Spotify, and YouTube, which you use daily. Data science and data visualization libraries such as Pandas, NumPy help you in extracting information. It's also used in gaming, by the way. Uh, those who are interested in game development also can go for Python. It helps you in developing like 2D games and all for beginners. There are a lot of softwares like Scratch for beginners and kids to learn Python and program your code. So coming, let's move on to Akshaj. He'll tell about data science and how to install Python. Akshaj, you can continue.
Okay, good evening, all. This is Akshij, and I'm going to start off with Data science. The future is data. A brief note on data science's importance. Data science is the domain of study that deals with vast volumes of data using modern tools and techniques. It is used to find unseen patterns, derive meaningful information, and make business decisions. But one can think, how can you use something like data science to make important business decisions which can cost people a lot of money? For example, whenever you use something like YouTube or Netflix or even any shopping apps like Amazon, when you go into the search bar and you type something, and sometimes there are times where it can predict what you're going to say, and it will give you an option, and it will give you the options which you might like. This is not the same for everyone, because for everyone this is different. Because what it does is, places like companies like Amazon and Google, they collect data on you, and they figure out what you would like, what are the things you would like. For example, you're always searching something related to, I don't know, maybe keyboards or mouse, something like that. And when you go onto Amazon, the first thing which will pop up when you're about to type something will be a keyboard or a mouse, and will suggest you the bestsellers or whatever. Data science uses complex machine learning algorithms to build predictive models. So this is what these predictive models are, what determines your search, what will pop up in your search engines. We look into its applications in the next slide, the applications of data science. Data sciences Data science can be used in healthcare. Healthcare companies are using data science to build sophisticated medical instruments to detect and cure diseases. So, data science, you collect data using data science, and with the help of a large amount of data, like a lot of patients, a lot of scans, you can feed this into a machine, and the machine can detect similarities between each other scan and each data, and they can predict to a very high degree of success of what is actually happening. And in gaming, video and computer games are now being created with the help of data science, and that has taken the gaming experience to the next level. Image recognition. Identifying patterns in images and detecting objects in an image is one of the most popular data science applications. So now how this works is like, when you're inputting a large number of data like pictures or whatever, like imagine you input a picture of a specific breed of a dog. Now if you input enough data on if you input enough pictures of this specific dog, the the program or the application can easily find out whether the dog which is going to be input by the user is the dog or not, is the specific dog given as an input or not. Recommendation systems. Netflix and Amazon give movie and product recommendations based on what you like to watch, purchase, or browse on their platforms. And data science is also used in fraud detection. Banking and financial institutions use data science and related algorithms to detect fraudulent transactions. Now we'll move on to how to install Python. Installing Python is very simple. All you have to do is go into the link over here, the python.org/downloads, and you would see a large button which says download Python. You need to click on it. It will always show the latest version, and then you'll have a pop-up, and you'll have to click on install. Then while you're installing, you have to make sure that there'll be an option at the bottom saying add Python, the version number to path, and you will have to click it, and you can just hit install now, and that's pretty much it. It's very simple. You need not always use the Python idle. You can use other Python IDE, such that is the integrated development environment, for a cleaner and more organized area to code. For example, PyCharm, Microsoft Visual Studio, and Atom. uh, these allow you to create a lot of notebooks where you can store your code in a safe and secure manner. Now let's move into the differences of interactive mode and script mode. Interactive mode is what you that's your idle mode. It is the way of using the Python interpreter by typing commands and expressions at the prompt. You cannot save and edit the code in the interactive mode. If we want to experiment with code, we can use interactive mode because you can just test out single lines of code. We cannot use the statements for further use, and we have to retype all the statements to rerun them. You can only import a single line of code in your interactive mode. We can see the results immediately. Those are the things about interactive mode. Now, what is script mode? Now, when you're in the Python idle screen, once you hit F5, you create a new module, and that's or you can hit Control N to create a new model, and that will technically be a script mode. It is a way of using the Python interpreter to read and execute statements, multiple statements in the script. You can save and edit the code. If we are very clear about the code, we can use script mode.
Akshish,
We can
wait just a minute. Yeah, Sri Rajagrai, screen is visible to everyone. It's just check your network connection if it's okay or not. It's visible to everyone. Yeah, continue.
we can save the statements for further use, and we do not need to retype all the statements to rerun them. So technically, when you type a batch of code, you could just save it in script mode, whereas you can't do that in an interactive mode. You can save it as a separate file on anywhere in your desktop or whatever, and you can't see the code immediately because the code has to run. Because you can input multiple statements at a time, and you won't be as quick as your interactive mode because interactive mode only allows a single line of code at a time. Now, there are different data types. Every value in Python has a specific data type. A data type is a set of values and the allowable operations on those values. Python has 4 standard data types. Usually, we use numbers, booleans, sequences, sets, and dictionary. And these are not too important. We'll go in depth into this tomorrow. These are important, but we'll be going in depth into this tomorrow. We just need to know for now that such data types exist and we can use multiple of these. Now, one of the most important parts in Python is the usage of variables. What is a variable? A variable allows us to store a value just by assigning it a name, which can be used later. And these named memory locations store these values. Programmers generally choose names for their variables that are meaningful. For example, you can literally give a variable any name, but it has to be according to a certain rule called they have to be identifiers. Now, you can usually what people do is give it a name like A, B, C, which is not wrong. You can do it, but it can be useful in a small program where you don't have too many variables involved. But for a larger program, you have to give very meaningful variables so that you can realize what the variable you're using is for. A variable can be of any length, and there's no space allowed in between variables. We do not in Python. The good thing about Python is we don't need to declare a variable before using it. For example, in C, C is not a high level language, it's a medium level language. You need to declare your variable before using it, such as if it's an integer, you have to type before main or within main, you have to type int a or int a b c. In Python, you just need to type a b c whatever and give it a value, and it will be stored as a variable. So Python is much more simple in that way. In Python, you can assign multiple variables, multiple values at the same time. This is a very important and fast feature. It doesn't require a lot of lines of code. You can assign the variable values in a single line of code without any hassle, and you can assign one value to multiple variables by equating all of them. What are keywords? Keywords are the reserved words in Python. Now, for example, a variable can be named anything except a keyword. A variable cannot use a keyword name, function name, or any identifier can use a keyword name. They are used to define the syntax and structure of the Python language, and these keywords are case sensitive. There are multiple keywords, as you can see, for example, false, none, true, and as whatever. These are more keywords, and we'll go in depth into this in tomorrow's class. Now, what are identifiers? Identifier is the name given to entities like class, functions, variables, etc. An identifier can be a combination of letters in lowercase or uppercase, or digits, or even an underscore. But an identifier cannot start with a digit. And keywords cannot be used as an identifier, as I said before. They are very specific. Those words are the holy grail of Python. You cannot use them in any other place. You can only use them as a keyword, and you cannot use special symbols except underscore. Underscore is the only symbol you can use to name an identifier. An identifier can be of any length, just like a variable. For example, you could start. You can an invalid identifier, as you see, is number space one. The problem in that identifier is that you've left a space in between. You cannot leave spaces, as they've said before. You cannot leave spaces in between a identifier, and you cannot start an identifier with a specific number. Like one num is an invalid identifier because it starts with an integer. The number data type in Python stores numerical values. This data type is immutable. It means that the values in items of this data type cannot be changed. It supports Python supports the following data types. It supports integers, floating point numbers, and complex numbers. Integers are your basic numbers, and floating points are your decimals and such numbers. There are multiple arithmetic operators in Python. For then, as you know, an addition operator, which is just the plus symbol, it adds values on either side of the operator, and the subtraction operator subtracts right hand operand from the left hand operand. And the multiplication operator in Python, in all programming languages, are denoted by the asterisk, and it multiplies values on either side of the operator. And the division is denoted by the right hand slash. It divides the left hand operand by the right hand operand, and the modulus symbol divides the left hand operand by the right hand operand and gives the remainder of the number. For example, if you do mod 10, 10 mod 8, it will give you the remainder, which is 2. And using two asterisks at the same time will give you the exponent of the value. For example, 3 asterisk 3 will give you 3 cube, 3 to the power 3, which is 27. And floor division is a different kind of operator because it does the same thing as division, but what it does is it does not return a decimal point. For example, in the division operator, it does return a decimal point, but the floor division operator does not return a decimal point. And we have comparison operators. Comparison operators are very important. It can be used in loops in multiple ways. For example, when you use two equal to's together, it means it's if the values of the two operands are equal. So you're essentially checking a condition to check whether both the operators on each side, operands on the each side of the operator, are equal. If they're equal, it will give a true value. So it is like a comparison. So it will check whether whether A is equal to B, and if A is equal to B, it will return a true condition. And the exclamation point equal to will means that it will check whether the two variables are equal to each other. For example, is A equal to B? I mean, if A not equal to B, it means exclamation equal to means not equal to. So it checks whether it will check if the variable on the left hand side is not equal to the variable on the right hand side. If the values of the two operands are not equal, then the condition becomes true. Now, the greater than operand, everyone knows this because it's used everywhere, and the lesser than operand, and the greater than equal to operand, and the lesser than equal to operand. These are very useful in checking for ranges in your loops. And these are your assignment operators. Now if you're going to use assignment operators, like you can use assignment operators to provide values to your variables. Now you can set if you have a value, if you have a variable a and you have to set a value as 8, you just put a is equal to 8. Very simple. And what the add and operator does is, which is the plus and equal to operator, what it does is, it checks if c plus equal to a is equivalent to c plus a. So what it does is, if you keep two variables on either side of the operator, what it does is, if c plus equal to a means that c plus a is equal to c. So it will add the variables and finalize it in the initial variable, which is c in that case. Minus equal to will do the opposite thing, which will subtract. And just like that, you can do multiply and divide and modulus. And there are other assignment operators such as exponent and floor division. And now if you have trouble installing Python on your laptop, or if you don't have a laptop, you have to run it on your phone. There are many other places online such as Google Colab, and you can use online compilers and such. One of the easiest places for you to work on your Python skills is Google Colab. It allows you to execute and store your Python code online if your computer is not able to run it efficiently. this is the this is the link where you can use Google Colab. Once you go into Google Colab, it will ask you to sign in. And after signing in, you have to create a new notebook where you can start off right away using Python code, and it will store it online for you, and you can access it anywhere. You don't have to store it on your computer, it will be stored in the cloud. This is completely free. And that's the end of the PowerPoint. Now we'll move on to the hands-on session.
So while we are setting up, if you have any questions, you can ask us.
Now, this is your Google Colab. How do we use this? Now, once you go into Google Colab, this will be your home screen for Google Colab. And how do we start using this? Here on the top left, you'll see an item called File. When you click on it, it will allow you to open an previous notebook and or create a new notebook. What you have to do for now is create a new notebook, and we can check out the different kinds of things we did today. For example, now we just have to type our Google code in, I mean our Python code in, and it will just, we can just say, let's go for something simple like printing hello world. And now if you just click on the play button, which will execute your line of code, it will show you what is there. This will take time depending on your internet connection and your resources. So it will take a bit, then it'll start working normally. See, as I typed hello world, it will show me the uh, output. Now we can create more. We just add more new lines and keep adding more and more lines, and we can delete these lines as much as we want. Now we could just look into the basic stuff like variable. Now if we, let's do a basic code line like swapping numbers like between a and b, right? If two variables are there, a and b, and we have to swap the values of a and b. Now we just give values to a and b using the multi assignment thing. Now a and b is equal to 10 comma 20, so we're assigning that a and b's values are 10 and 20 respectively. Now if we have to swap the number using a basic logical way, we could create a new variable called c. Now this new variable can be having an, can have an any, it can have any value. Like I'll just set it as 0 for now because we don't need it to have a value. Then we could now if we have to swap the two numbers a and b, we just have to like we have a temporary variable c and we equate c, we temporarily store a in the variable c, and then we change the value of a to b, right? And then we change the value, finally change the value of b to the previous value of a, which was stored in c. As you can see here in this line of code, we store the value, the previous value of a in c, and now that we've changed the value of a to b, we can't use a again because current value of a is b. And now we have to store the, we have to set the previous value of b as a. We just have to put c, and now we can just put print a comma b. As you can see, the first value is a, which is 20, and second value is of b is 10. And now we initially gave the value of a as 10 and b as 20, and now we've successfully swapped a and b. Now the value of a is 20 and the value of b is 10. We can do much more like this. Now we can start off with wait, let me see. Now we just look into a short show of how we can install Python. Now we just need to go to, we just search Python on Google, right? And you, the first link, Okay, now the first link we'll get is Python. When you put Python on Google, is this link python.org, and you click on it, and then you'll see Python. Wait, just a second. Or you just hit downloads. Here you'll see a link called downloads. Then you can click on download Python 3 point. The version will be there, and you just click on the link, and it will start downloading. After you've after the session is after the file has been downloaded, you click on it, and you will get the um, notification to install, and you just have to add. There'll be an option to click on add to path, and you have to click on it, and you have to add it to path. And after you're done with that, this is how your Python program will start. I will show you. And this is how it will look. This will be your idle shell. Let me just share it real quick. I don't know whether it's visible. Just a second. Yes, this is your idle screen. Now over here you can just type simple lines of code, just like you can only type one line of code. This is not as useful as you think it might be. Now to open a new file, we just have to properly use Python, we just have to create a new file over here by clicking this option, and it will create a new file. I'll show you how it will look. It will be a blank white screen just saying untitled. And this will be your untitled screen. Over here you can type the same codes we did, but over here what you have to do, for example, now we just have, if you want to print hello world just like we did in the Google Collab, we just put hello world. But over here we have to run the program, but before we run we have to save the source. So we just save it, and I'll just save it to my desktop for easy use, and we'll just name it hello world. And this will be your output shell. Your idle shell will show the output. And here, as I put the code in saying print hello world, and it is printed hello world, just as we expected. So this is how you use Python idle. Now I will hand it over to Jay Kishore, who will show you something simple like Turtle, which is a library in Python, and it allows you to use the GUI feature of Python to draw simple shapes and patterns.
Again, let's see about turtles. Turtles in Python, actually, you can draw stuff if you want. It's just simple fun for the end, actually. Let's see the basics in how a turtle works. Just a minute. So as you see here, we have written the code to use turtle here. So let's see how it works. Actually, let me tell the functions for just a second. So coming to turtle again, my screen is visible. Is it, Akshay?
Not yet.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, now it's visible.
So turtle in Python. So turtle, the basic functions are over here. So turtle, it just creates and returns a new turtle object. Turtle is just an object which helps you to draw. So the functions are like forward, the moves the turtle forward by the specified amount. Like if you want to move 100 units, you just need to specify for turtle dot forward 100. Similar to that, we have functions like backward, right, left, moving for backward, moving right side, moving left. Pen up and pen down is nothing but uh, if if you're drawing and you just need to leave a space in between, you just need to use the pen up function. And when you want to continue the line, you just need to use the pen down function. So the other functions over here, up, it picks up the turtle spin, and down puts down the turtle spin. Color, we can change the color of the turtle spin to the specific color. Whatever color you want to use, you can use the colors like red, blue, green, etc. We can fill the turtle if you drawn a circle or a square or whatever it is. You can fill the color, fill the shape using the color, using fill color function with the color name. See, like I said, red, blue, green, or whatever you want. The functions extra, next are heading, position, go to, begin fill, and end fill. Like we want to fill half of the shape and leave the half, you can use the functions, and dot functions, stamp, and shape. So let's see how it is used. A simple program, or not a simple one. I'll show a simple one and also a complicated one. Just a second. So it may execute this to see what the output is. So executing it. So here, this is the turtle. So we've written the functions and we're executing it, and it draws a heart for this. You can draw various shapes and various diagrams from using turtle. So we've drawn a heart using turtle, and we fill the color with red. Similarly, you can draw a lot of shapes, and for designs, turtle is used. So these are the basics. You can try it for yourselves. It's fun when you start with Python. It doesn't require any hard functions. It's just basics, and it requires your mind. You can do whatever you want with this. So that's it for turtle. Just a second. So we are open for questions. Do you have any questions about Python, or is was anything which was unclear? We are ready to clear you with any doubts. If any doubts, you can ask. Okay, I'll just talk about the basics again. Just a second. So let's go with the recap on how on what we learned today, and you'll see better topics tomorrow on how to use for loops and stuff by our colleagues. So I'll start with it. The recap. So we saw what Python is. It's a high-level interpreted language, and we saw the history of Python, how it was named after Monty Python. And we saw what idles and we used idle. We saw the difference between the script mode and interactive mode shown by Akshaj, and we implemented a lot of functions and saw the errors which occurred. So we also uh, told why to use Python than other languages, because it's simple. It's very easy for the beginners who wants to code. Like most of the kids can use Python right away, rather than using C, Java for the start, because it's like English, and so they can start with it. So we saw the applications of Python. There are various applications. You can choose a domain and uh, learn for it. And we saw about data science and its importance and where it's used. I hope you guys install Python and practice yourselves. I saw someone asking questions. Just let me finish with the recap and go with the questions. Just a second. So we saw how to install Python. Uh, we saw what IDE was. We saw the difference between interactive and script mode. Let me explain it once again. To be explained by Akshaj. Just a second. We saw the different types of data type. We saw what variables are. We saw what keywords were. We saw identifiers. If you have any doubts, can you come up and ask with these. We saw what numbers, how to assign numbers to variables, and how numbers are swapped. And we saw arithmetic operators, comparison operators, assignment operators, and we went with hands-on by actions, which was if you have any doubts on hands-on, you just need a lot of hands-on practice. You can just right away learn coding from what we tell. Need a lot of practice. And we finally saw turtle. So let's go with the questions again, which will be answered by actions.
Okay. To answer Mr. Rajadra's question on script mode, I shall explain it to you again. So I'll just start with iterative mode. So iterative mode means working simultaneously and creative impact. It is based on the ideology only, right? In the iterative mode, we can enter a command and press enter. Then the very next step, we get the output. The output of the code in interactive mode is influenced by the last command we give. It is very convenient for writing very short lines of code. In Python, it is also known as REPL, which means read, evaluate, print loop. So mostly what we use interactive mode for is like in a situation where I use is like when we're downloading external libraries such as Turtle, right? What the J.K. Show showed as an example, Turtle and Matplotlib, which allows you to draw graphs. And to check whether if it's clearly installed, we just put import Matplotlib or import Turtle. And if we get an error message over there, it will show the error message because only reads one line of code. It will say that it has not been imported, which means that we have not installed the turtle or matplotlib properly, and we just have to reinstall. So it can be used in situations like that. Whereas your script mode, right? In script mode, a Python program can be written in a file. This file can be saved and executed using the command prompt. We can view this code at any time by opening the file and editing. And editing becomes quite easy as we open and view the entire code as much as we want. It is very suitable for writing long pieces of code. It is much preferred over interactive mode by experts in the programming field. And that's a brief on script mode and iterative mode. Now I'll hand it over to Jay Kishore for the final summarizing. And as he summarized, we'll just for the final slide.
Uh, so I think all the questions have been answered. So if you have any questions, we're ready to answer right away. We are waiting for your questions. Hope you enjoyed the session. And any doubts? And the sources you can use Geek for Geeks, Java Point, and lots of stuff to learn Python. It's very simple. They've given it in brief manner, so you can use Geek for Geeks to study. So, any questions? Okay, guys. Thank you for joining the session. Hope you guys enjoyed and learned a lot of stuff and gained the knowledge on how Python works. Hope you guys learn Python and practice it for yourselves. It's it's very easy, you know. So just continue with the practice, and it's very easy. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you from Akshay also and Akshay. Yeah,
Thank you all.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Kirtika,
Yes, sir.
you can start.
Thank you, sir. We have now reached the end of this session, and this is the time to extend our gratitude for the successful completion of today's event, Python for Beginners. Gratitude is like a magnet. The more grateful you are, the more you will receive. I deem it my privilege in proposing the vote of thanks. At the outset, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the management for providing an opportunity and extending full support to organize such an event. I would like to thank our principal sir, Dr. S. Ramachandran, for being a source of motivation and guiding us to conduct such events. I would like to thank most eminent speakers, Mr. Jay Kishore and Mr. Akshaj sir, to spend their time with us and enlightening the stay with their knowledge. A profound thanks to the event organizing committee for playing a pivotal role in organizing and ensuring the smooth conduction of this event. I also thank all participants for accepting our invitation and extending full support. Before concluding the session, dear participants, the feedback form is posted in the chat box. Kindly do fill it and get your participation certificate. Once again, I thank you all. Dear participants, the feedback form is posted in the chat box. Kindly do fill it and get your participation certificate. Dear participants, the feedback form is posted in the chat box. Kindly do fill it and get your participation certificate. Dear participants, the feedback form is also posted in the WhatsApp link. Kindly do fill it and get your participation certificate. Thank you.